Hey, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. We're going to pitch analysis here for you, Heath. Today I'm going to pair you with Cody Hall coming out of leg lift. Let's get you guys right before your front foot wants to open or your back leg is ready to drive. About right here. And you're going to see out of your leg lift, you're just sitting over your back leg. You can see with Cody generating a lot more momentum here coming out of leg lift, forward and down at the same rate. So you can see the shin of that back leg starting to move down and get linear. So when you get to the point where you're ready to open, right here, your back leg is too vertical. You can see when Cody's ready to open, a much more linear backside. So now when he opens the front foot, he can initiate drive, which he does, because that drive is going to help accelerate momentum and push the hip around. You're not in a push position to drive here. Yours is just going to want to turn over, because if it was to try to drive, it would have just jumped you off the rubber. So you open, your back knee turns down, and it's just very rotational, and it gets your hip around, but it brings your trunk with it. So your hip and trunk are coming together, so you're not separated. We call it hip to shoulder separation. And the only way you're going to separate your hips and shoulder is when you got back into the position where you're ready to open drive, and you had counter rotation, and Cody's trunk's a little more counter rotated, but you had this shin angle here ready to push this hip through. You don't have that shin angle, so yours is just going to turn down, and it's not going to push the hip through ahead of the shoulders. So you see it all coming together, back hip, back shoulder, even into landing. As your foot's down, your glove is tucked. You can see Cody going into landing, glove is not tucked, because he's delaying, because his hips are opening, his hips are powering, his trunk is delaying, it's riding that, waiting to peak from there, because yours just rotated and wasn't enough force to pull them apart. It stopped accelerating quickly, so your upper body had to tuck early and start rotation early. So you can see when you get to layback, you don't get a lot of layback in your arm like Cody does. Okay. And he gets more forward trunk. You get a more vertical trunk. All things that are going to be good indications that you're not at a high velocity. So things you can definitely improve. So if we get your trunk out here, your arm more laid back, a lot more energy moving up your trunk to the ball. There's studies that show 86% of the energy in the ball comes from the trunk. So it's just going back to getting the shin down, falling forward and down the same rate to get there, initiating a drive that gets the hips to push ahead of the trunk and not move with the trunk. And then we'll see better energy move forward. So you need to start working on hip mobility. That could be some hip mobility issues. You got to start working on getting a good power to weight ratio with your cleans to your body weight, something well over your body weight. You got to start working on feeling what it's like to separate hips and shoulders, like our beginner drills, as the crossover drills, also all the med ball throws or separation throws. All these things great to start teaching these key principles.